Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. And all I got to say is he's back. Mr. Cody Barton, how you doing, sir?
Doing well, doing well. How are you?
Oh man, I appreciate it. I love getting a little bit of your time because you are in the mix of real estate. Deal flow is amazing. You really can tell me kind of when the wind changes. And based on something your partner, Pace Morby, said yesterday in an Instagram post, I'm
Mhm.
gonna guess that the Phoenix market is very different today than say 3 or 4 months ago. Any truth to that?
Yeah, there's a lot of big changes that are starting to happen, and as I've been watching it, it's been interesting. I mean, we don't do any fix and flips in the luxury market because, frankly, risk tolerance for me isn't there. I'm not interested. I have friends that they'll say, I just made 200 grand on this, $1.3 million flip. I'm like, I'm over here. I'm clapping for you. I'm happy for you. That's your lane. Great. I'm sticking in that median and under, that 450 and under right now in Phoenix. I'm like, that's where we're going to stay. And so what's been interesting is as the rates have started to change back just in March between active pendings, contingent contracts back in March of 2022, we had 4,700 listings
Okay.
on the MLS. And so when I was looking at it on Friday, we're now at 11,300.
No, wait, hold on. So 90 days ago, this is March
Yes,
data, you were at 4,700. As of yesterday, you're over 11,000.
over 11,000.
That's more than a double.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So Phoenix changing a little bit.
It is changing a little bit. But what's interesting is before I was on the investor side of this business, I was working as a real estate agent.
Mhm.
And typically, like back in like 2016, like 15, 16, 17, I remember listings would normally be at like 15 to 18,000. And that was more normal. And it was
Right.
still considered a seller's market then. But I'm really curious to see how it's going to start affecting things now, because also rates were lower and
Yeah.
prices were lower back then. So, the house, people were buying houses for 200,000, 175,000, where now that median is 450,000. We now have higher rates. The annual, household incomes in Arizona, they haven't really grown that much.
Yeah.
And I was
Affordability
talking,
has to be smashed.
yeah. And so this is something that scared me yesterday. So I was getting, I get mobile IVs, every now and then just to make sure I'm, keeping up with my health if I'm traveling. And so I was talking to the nurse that was doing my mobile IV yesterday, and her husband's a firefighter. And so just talking Phoenix market specifically, they're renting a house, and they're spending over $2,000 a month. And between her and her husband, that is a firefighter. Like, a firefighter that's a sought after career, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a respectable sought after career, good benefits, right? And his take home pay is only getting them $2,600 a month. And with her and his pay, they can not even qualify for what a lot of rental requirements are, because a lot of places require 3 times rent. And rents are now 2,200, 2,500 in most areas that are in the good school districts, where people want to be. And so that yesterday, just hearing that conversation, I'm like, yeah, things can't stay like this when like sought after careers like nurses and firefighters, people like that are unable to even afford,
Yeah.
what's going on. Like, it's not sustainable in this
Yeah.
market.
Yeah. So there's a couple things I just want to ask you. And if you don't know the answer, it's totally cool. First off, so we went from, call it 4,700 to 11. Do you think in the next 90 days we could possibly get to 15 or 16,000 back to that kind of normal listing? You think that's in the realm of possibilities?
I think so. I think 100% it will.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't
So
really.
the trend keeps going that way.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, from the properties that we're fix and flipping as well, we're getting a lot slower on selling them. Like, we were used to, like most other markets in the U.S., right? We'd list something on a Thursday, by the end of the weekend, 10, 15, 20 offers. We get a like cherry pick, like, okay, we'll take that, no contingencies, the wave of appraisal, the 10, 20,000 over ask. We'll take that one and close in 3 weeks, right? Like,
Right.
that was what we were used to being able to get. And now we're not having to reduce our price per se on some of these, but what we're seeing is we're getting less offers, and it's more like, okay, yeah, we'll pay for your home warranty. We'll throw in $1,500 towards your closing costs. We'll, be a little bit more flexible on, we'll give you 4.5 weeks for your closing. You need longer for your move out from your rental. It's like, so we're giving more concessions. It's not like it's killing us, but it's just, we haven't had to do that in a really long time.
So if I were to kind of take that, basically you went from going 100 miles an hour to maybe 15 or 20 miles an hour. So it feels very different, but you're still, the transactions are still happening, just longer, not as much over. So you're not going backwards yet.
Yeah, not going backwards yet. And that's in the price range that we stay in. We're 450 and under for most of the stuff that we're listing. Occasionally we'll get something that's, goes for 500, maybe a little over 5, but we don't really mess with that because, and you've talked about it on your channel, that move up buyer, I would be a move up buyer. I don't want to move up. It doesn't make sense for me to move up. I was looking at the houses. I'm like, okay, so my mortgage where I'm at now, it's $2,500 a month. And for me to go move into a house that I want to live in, say like a 1 million to 1.25 ish, house, my mortgage is going to go from 2,500 to just something with a bigger, yard and maybe one more bedroom, a little bit more square footage. So my mortgage would be like $7,000 a month, $8,000 a month. I'm like,
nope,
no, that's not worth it.
Not happening. Yeah. The move up buy, again, the first time buyer is broken because of affordability. The move up buyer is not going because of lock-in. The Fed broke housing, which actually we'll talk about in video 3. It's going to create lots of opportunities for investors, but they may be different than the past. The other thing to talk about, again, that you're staying below the median, I suspect, that anytime you're 2x the median into a changing market. So in Arizona or Phoenix, call it $1 million. I think that inventory is going to explode because what you've just said, the move up buyer is going to do the math going, why the hell would I trade a $2,500 for a $7,000? It doesn't make sense.
Makes no sense whatsoever. I think the only people, here anyways, that are going to be buying those are going to be people moving here from out of state that are moving to Phoenix. And it's just, they're selling their 2-bed, 1-bath in LA for 1.7. And then they'll come buy their 5,000 square foot house here for 900,000 cash. And it's like, whatever. So it's like that's what I see is the people buying those, or the people that have to move for some reason, but other, people aren't going to out of choice go to that. It just doesn't make sense.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about Phoenix, because it is a market that has undoubtedly been dominated by kind of these iBuyers, right? Zillow and all these others, Open Door. I think they're losing their ass because
I think so too,
because they buy too high and they don't do a good job. So I think they're losing their ass. But do you think they're slowing down in their acquisitions? Because they got to be losing money. And if they haven't lost money already, they're about to, because their whole models are built on a rising market. And Phoenix has got to be topping out. I mean, geez, crazy.
Yeah, I think they are. What's interesting of the last 5 fix and flips that we've sold, 3 of them sold to hedge funds.
Oh, really? Like hedge funds as landlords?
Yeah, as landlords.
Interesting.
Yeah, so here's an interesting thing. So one of them that we sold back in January to a fund. This is just one that my girlfriend Hayel had sold us, and then we flipped. And so she was in the area. She drove by it almost 5 months later, just to see like what they were doing with it. It's sitting vacant. They bought it in January. There's still no one vacant. In it. It's still vacant. So I don't know if they're having operational problems of like, that should be rented out. Like the property, it's not even listed for rent and it was already fixed up. So I don't know what they're doing, but it was a vacant house that was already remodeled that they've been sitting on for now 5 months almost. So I don't know what their strategy is, but they're not moving very quickly on the stuff they are buying. One of the last, properties that we sold to a fund, we had 3 of the funds offer on it. I think it was Invitation Homes. I can't remember the exact buyer, which fund ended up buying it, but 3 of the funds bidded it up. I think we had 5 or 6 buyers. 2 or 3 of those were, first time home buyers, and the funds won because they're cash. They close in 2 weeks. They know, no
Yeah.
repairs, right?
Yeah.
Versus the FHA, give me $5,000, help me, hopefully I can qualify and close.
Right. Exactly.
So, we closed that one out, probably about 10 days ago. And it's just very strange because we have this, Laura and I've talked about it. Like, we feel bad selling to the funds because they're taking away the housing from that first time home buyer, but it just, the terms are too good to pass up on,
Yeah.
and it's a sure thing.
Yeah. So I've never sold to a fund before. So I just have a couple of questions. I'm going to guess most of them are legit cash.
Yeah.
Right? They're not pulling a cash offer and then getting a non-QM loan or something on side. They're just stroking a check, wiring the money. They're done.
Yep. Yeah. Legit cash. And they've been really easy to sell to. The strange thing is, so this one property on Tucky Lane, Amherst is one of the big funds that buys in Phoenix right now.
Mhm.
And so this property on Tucky, we submitted it before we closed escrow to do some basic fix ups to it, to see if they would just buy it before we closed, and we'd, wholesale it to them. They offered us 280 for this property. So then we're like, nope, we had it at like 270. That's not enough for us. So we closed on it, put $7-8 in it, literally just carpet, paint, some fixtures, and listed it. Amherst bought it for 365 on the MLS.
Ah!
Their agent
hedge funds are not good at what they do.
No, it made literally, we were just like, we would have sold it to you for like 305 if you would have just bought it and we didn't have to close on it ourselves and do anything and just make it easy for us. But I think what they're starting to do, because the hedge funds, like a lot of people in Phoenix were getting rich, really just selling to hedge funds and on not great deals. And so they started, what I think they're doing is trying to squeeze wholesalers now, because it used to be the popular thing all last year. People were like, sell the funds, sell the funds, sell the funds. They're paying top dollar. And now they've started coming down on what they'll pay wholesalers. But if you get it on the MLS, they'll pay market. It's just, I don't get it. I don't understand their business model of why they do that. I think they just don't like dealing with wholesalers, but that's what I've been seeing. And it's very strange.
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and I have worked with people who have more money than sense. Money makes you do stupid things. You can overpay and it create enough excuses. And oh, by the way, let's not be confused. The money that they're spending is not really their money. Yeah. That's the magic of this. This is some capital raise that they have insurance money and other, private, it's not their money. So they have a bunch of people. Money. It's monopoly money running around in expensive suits going, all they have to do is all they're reporting, Cody, is I bought 7 homes in Phoenix this week. That's what they're reporting. Mm-hmm. They're not saying how good a deal they got, none of these things. So hedge funds do stupid things. It would be very interesting for me. I guess here's a question. If you don't know the answer, that's cool. A lot of people think hedge funds are not buying cash, which you've already confirmed they are. Mm-hmm. I will be interested if these hedge funds ever sell. Have you known a fund to ever sell, or they just sell to other funds?
So I haven't seen any of the buy to rent funds sell anything yet. And I've checked on some of the stuff that we've sold to them like last year. They're holding it. I don't know what they're doing with them. Mm-hmm. Because obviously like that one hasn't rented it and it's been 5 months, but
that's crazy.
Which is ridiculous. But I don't know what they're doing. I mean, Open Door, OfferPad, those are the ones that are buying and then they're selling them here.
Yeah.
But
buyers. Yeah.
Those, all the other funds that are holding, I haven't seen any of them start selling off any of their inventory.
And I don't think they ever will. I think a fund raises $1 billion. They deploy the $1 billion. Then they go take that asset of 812 homes or whatever it is and go, this 812 homes, we're going to slice and dice and make some other thing. And then they're going to sell that thing off. So once these homes go to a fund, I don't think they come out. If they ever do, it's kind of fund to fund. It's like, oh, this fund is leaving Phoenix. Let me sell you my 812 homes to some other fund that's entering Phoenix. Yeah. I just don't see a hedge fund at some point going, I'm going to sell 812 homes. Let's list them all at the same time and see if owner occupants, they would destroy the market all by themselves.
Yeah. And that's the thing that worries me with these funds is not about the selling, but they're going to be controlling the rental market, number one, because they're buying in, specific areas like the area, we know which areas we can't send them properties in. We know the areas we can. So like they're gobbling up a lot of properties in these, better school district areas, these, 1990 plus builds or 2000 plus builds, depending on the fund. And they're pushing out all the would-be first time homeowners and, preventing people from getting on the property ladder. And, I feel bad in a way because I'm like, man, like I think of like that firefighter nurse situation. I'm like, there's a lot of people like that want to get on this property ladder, but they have to go compete with some fund that's paying cash to be in the school district they want their kids to be in. But instead they can go rent it for $2,500 a month. And that's their option.
Yeah, it's tough. Again, I think we're going to head into a market where prices and rents flat. I think people expecting appreciation continue are going to be greatly discouraged. I think rent is going to be flat. It's just people
can't go up anymore. It can't. No, it can't. In Phoenix, especially. Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? There's no way. Like, so listen to this. We lived in a high-rise apartment for a year because we wanted the experience. It's like one of those like bucket list things. We did that, and now we're in a house on the mortgage, whatever. But when we moved in there in 2020, our rent for our place was $2,800 a month. And then within we just did a 6-month lease because we didn't know if we'd like it. We did. So we stayed another 6 months, but they upped it to $3,200. And so like, okay, like that's kind of sucks, but it is what it is. When we were moving out, they gave us an offer lease renewal on that unit for $4,300.
Oh my God.
So it was like from $2,800 to $4,300. And I have friends that live in that building that they were living in a smaller unit than ours. And they were at $2,600 when they moved in. They're now paying $4,000 a month for a 2-bed, 2-bath in a unit that was built like in 2006. So it's not like this is like a brand new build, like just beautiful. Like they're nice, but it's like, it's not brand new.
The Fed broke housing. Housing became the best risk adjusted return. Hence funds came once one hedge fund came, they brought all the rest. Once iBuyers made a bunch of money because they got lucky on timing, more came. It's all going to blow up. It's all going to blow up. But I don't think hedge funds sell, right? They may stop buying.
Yeah.
But I don't think they sell. I mean, if you have 812 homes, I'm just making that number up. Why would you ever sell them out, right? They're already cash flow. Your debt structure is fine. There's no have tos. Mm-hmm. I just don't see. I can see them stop buying, but I don't see funds selling. I just don't see it.
I don't either. I don't think it makes sense to either. I mean, I think, especially where they can control really the rents in some of these areas that they're buying. Like there's literally one of the neighborhoods that we sold to the fund. There were like 12 other sales from that same fund in the same subdivision. Wow. That happened in the last year. I'm like, literally this whole neighborhood is going to be owned by this fund.
It's crazy. Well, let's ask the big question about Phoenix. I think there's no question transactions are slowing down.
Yep.
But do you think prices are going to fall? I saw Case Shiller Phoenix was the #1 market for 3 years in a row. It just got passed by Tampa. So now you're number 2. Mm-hmm. Do you think prices fall 10% over the next year, or do you think they're flat? What do you think is going on with prices in your crystal ball?
So in my broken crystal ball, I think that they're going to get flat. I don't know if they're going to go down because we have so much of that fund activity and because we do have a lot of people wanting to be here and there still is a lot of economic growth in the sense of there's a lot of companies that are moving from other states to Arizona. There's a lot of, manufacturing that wasn't necessarily something that brought in a lot of jobs, but there is some microchip plants that are being built here. Lucid Motors is building their big facility here. Amazon's building some huge warehouses here and distribution centers. And so there's a lot of big companies bringing, great jobs here as well. And so I'm like, I just don't see, maybe after a year, I could see maybe some reduction. I think in the luxury market, yes. Median, no. Yeah, I don't think in the median.
That's kind of what I think for most markets, especially Phoenix with population. It's really going to become a bifurcated market below the median, right? Which I think you said is 450. Mm-hmm. The demand is still there from owners and investors.
Yep.
The move up market, especially, I always say 2x. I think there's a lot of inventory there. A lot of FOMO sellers is coming. I think if you were in the market for $1 million home in Phoenix, I think in 90 days you're going to have the pick of the litter. Yeah. And if you're picky, you might find a motivated seller that gives you one at 100 or 200K off because they just got to move. So yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. Cody, where can people find you?
So you could find me on my YouTube channel. I talk about, real estate, business systems, operational efficiencies, finance, things like that. You can find me on Instagram as well, Cody Barton Official. So
thanks, buddy.